The cargo bay reeked of ammonia and fear. Maris stood at the edge of the loading dock, watching the Vryn ship's thrusters ignite in the distance. They were leaving. Of course they were leaving. The Vryn didn't do sentiment, didn't do mercy. They collected, they catalogued, they discarded. And they had just discarded Valkyra. The wolf lay in the corner of the abandoned containment unit, her silvery fur matted with blood and engine grease. Her breathing came in shallow gasps, ribs expanding and contracting like a broken accordion. Around her huddled 3 cubs, tiny mewling things no bigger than Maris's forearm. Their eyes hadn't even opened yet. Maris had been working the salvage docks of Station Kepler 22 for 6 years. She'd seen the Vryn dump plenty of failed specimens before, creatures that didn't meet their standards for the menageries of the core worlds. Too aggressive, too damaged, too expensive to maintain. Valkyra was all 3. The wolf species, whatever it was, came from a death world in the Scorpius sector. The Vryn had taken her as a pup, trained her to fight in their arena circuits. She'd been undefeated for 2 cycles, then she'd gotten pregnant. In the arena, with a competitor's seed. The Vryn considered that a contamination of their investment. Maris pulled her scanner from her belt, running it over the containment unit. The readout made her wince. Valkyra's core temperature was dropping. Internal bleeding. Severe malnutrition. The cubs wouldn't survive the night without her. Walk away, Maris whispered to herself. It was the smart move. The human move, some would say. Humans had clawed their way to the stars by knowing when to cut losses, when to preserve their own skin. But that wasn't the only human move. Maris thought of Earth, the planet she'd left behind decades ago. She thought of the stories her grandmother used to tell, stories of humans who'd found wolf cubs in the wilderness, raised them, formed bonds that defied biology. Ancient stories, stupid stories, beautiful stories. Ah, hell, Maris muttered. She approached the containment unit slowly, hands visible, movements deliberate. Valkyra's eyes, 6 of them arranged in 2 rows across her broad skull, tracked Maris's every step. The wolf's lips peeled back, revealing teeth like obsidian daggers. A warning growl rumbled from deep in her chest. Easy, girl, Maris said softly. I'm not Vryn, I'm human. We're the idiots who don't know when to quit. She keyed the containment unit's access panel. It hissed open. Valkyra lurched forward, jaws snapping but collapsed halfway. Too weak. Too broken. Maris grabbed the emergency medical kit from her belt. Basic stuff, coagulants, nutrient paste, thermal blankets. Nothing that would fix Valkyra completely, but maybe enough to buy time. She'd have to get them to Dr. Kelly's down in the sublevels. The Centaurian owed her a favor. As Maris worked, injecting coagulant into Valkyra's major vessels, something shifted in the wolf's eyes. The aggression didn't fade, that would never fade, but something else emerged beneath it. Recognition, maybe, or calculation. Valkyra understood that this human was trying to help. Your cubs are beautiful, Maris whispered as she wrapped thermal blankets around the tiny bodies. They were already hypothermic, their bioluminescent markings flickering weakly. Stupid Vryn wouldn't know beauty if it bit them in their 3 faces. One of the cubs, the largest, nuzzled against Maris's palm. Its fur was softer than anything she'd ever touched, like holding starlight itself. That's when the station's alert system screamed to life. Security breach. Sector 7. All personnel evacuate immediately. Maris's blood went cold. Sector 7. That was here. The Vryn had left more than just Valkyra behind. They'd left a cleanup crew. She grabbed her comm unit. Kellis, I need extraction now. Bay 12. Maris, what did you— Now! The bay doors exploded inward. 3 Vryn enforcement drones skittered through the smoke, their carapaces gleaming like wet bone. Behind them came something worse, a handler, one of the Vryn's biological weapons. 10 feet of armored flesh and neural whips. Specimen Valkyra is scheduled for termination, the handler announced in its clicking mechanical voice. Interference is a violation of Salvage Protocol 7. Maris stepped in front of the containment unit. Her hand moved to the plasma cutter on her belt. It wasn't a weapon. It was a tool. But tools could hurt. New protocol, Maris said. It's called Not Today. The handler's whips lashed out. Maris dodged left, fired the plasma cutter. The beam caught one of the drones, melting through its sensor array. The others rushed forward. Then Valkyra moved. Despite her wounds, despite the blood loss, the wolf exploded from the containment unit like a silver missile. She hit the first drone with enough force to dent the bay's floor plating. Her jaws closed around its central processor, and she ripped it free in a spray of circuitry and hydraulic fluid. The handler's whips wrapped around Valkyra's torso, electricity crackling. The wolf howled, a sound that resonated in frequencies Maris could feel in her bones. Maris fired again, severing one of the whips. Valkyra tore free, charging the handler. They collided in a tangle of claws and armor. The remaining drone targeted the cubs. No. Maris threw herself across the containment unit, taking the drone's shock blast across her back. Pain turned her world white. She collapsed, gasping. Through blurred vision, she saw Valkyra finish the handler, literally tear its head from its shoulders. Then the wolf turned on the final drone, and there was nothing but violence and fury. When silence finally fell, Valkyra stood over Maris, blood dripping from her muzzle. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Then Valkyra lowered her massive head and gently, impossibly gently, licked Maris's face. Dr. Kellis arrived 10 minutes later to find Maris unconscious. 3 wolf cubs curled against her chest for warmth, and Valkyra standing guard over them all. 3 months later, Maris watched Valkyra and her cubs from the observation deck of her newly acquired ship, bought with the bounty the Galactic Council had placed on Vryn handler units. The wolves had adapted to ship life remarkably well. Valkyra approached, her wounds healed, her strength returned. She pressed her broad head against Maris's leg. "Yeah," Maris said, scratching behind the wolf's ears. "We're idiots, but we're alive." And in the cold mathematics of the galaxy, that made them winners. Humanity didn't survive by being the strongest or the smartest. They survived by being too stubborn to know when something was impossible, and too compassionate to walk away when it mattered.